All right, guys, welcome to Greco-Roman Leadership and Character Development Show. This is number 15. I'm back with Rick, and we got Darren Elkins, The Damage, one of the top-ranked UFC featherweights with us. Hey, Darren, welcome to our show. I know you're down there are you in Sacramento right now?
Yeah, I'm in Sacramento right now. I stay out here pretty much most of the time. I go back to Chicago only in summertime when it's warm, not when it's winter.
Okay, you're from Indiana, but your family moved to Chicago or what?
We're like the Chicagoland area, you know what I mean? Most of my family's like from Indiana to Chicago, so we're a little bit of both.
Okay, all right. And then you hung out in Parkdale, which is kind of in that same area. You wrestled there at Wisconsin Parkdale for a couple years?
I wrestled at Wisconsin Parkside for 2 years. And then, Parkside. I wrestled 2 years there, and then I got my wife pregnant, and I got a job instead, and then got into fighting.
Okay, so once you got your wife pregnant, you decided to quit wrestling?
Well, I mean, somebody had to get a job, and my whole family are union pipefitters, so I knew I had a good job to go to right away. So, I let her finish her degree in nursing, and then I was a pipefitter full time.
Okay, and now you guys just still have the one child, or you got more kids now?
I got two. I got a son and a daughter. My daughter is 12. She just turned 12, and my son is 8.
Okay, all right, wonderful. So I mean, my wife and I had our son in college as well. So,
okay.
Yeah. So it does make you grow up. Okay, so I'm recording this, and the Mac not running fast enough to record this video call. The recording frame rate will be lowered. To prevent this warning, choose a lower frame rate. What the heck?
That's what we had last time with Jesse too.
Did I just click OK and keep moving?
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
Okay, we're just going to keep rolling. This is how we do things here.
I like it.
So, well, I know that you've had a lot of success, and one of the big things you're known for is your resiliency, your guts, your staying in the endurance to stay in the fight. How was that developed? I understood when you were growing up, you had a bit of a speech impediment. You were bullied. I don't remember where I read that. I don't think it's on your wiki or anything, but I read that in some article. Do you want to share with us how you developed that resiliency?
Yeah, I mean, me and my brother were 2 years apart, so we always clashed all the time too. We fought every day. We were both rough housing all the time, so. That's why my parents got us into wrestling, They figured, they were tired of us messing up their furniture and messing up the house, so we could get on the mats and mess up people over there and let us unleash our anger there. And growing up, like you said, I had a speech impediment. I had to take a lot of speech classes. It was hard to understand me. So I got bullied a lot, and I had to endure a lot when I was a young kid. And that's one of the things too is when you're a tough kid and you beat up all the people that start picking on you, they leave you alone, So luckily I was really tough, and wrestling helped me with that. And just the mind frame of it, man, is just I know with my endurance and my toughness, I can stay in these type of fights. They might be faster than me. They may be more athletic than me, but I'm going to be mentally tougher than them, and I'm just going to keep pushing, and nobody can keep that pace.
But you have to train that way too, don't you? I mean, you have to put that time in the gym.
Oh, man, you got to put the time in the gym. You can't just be mentally tough without putting the time in the gym, putting yourself in those bad positions, and learning how to fight in those positions, which I've done over and over again, A lot of athletes, you're going to be comfortable when you're in a comfort zone, going for your go-to moves, beating up on people. So I put myself in positions that I know I'm losing, I know I can't win, and find a way to win. And you do that over and over again, you become comfortable being uncomfortable.
Well, that's certainly something that we talk a lot about is getting out of your comfort zone. There's no growth inside of where you're comfortable, and there's guys that want to make their fights look pretty. They want it crisp and clean, and I mean we see some guys that are like an Aaron Pico who's just super crisp and clean, but even him, his first fight out, they threw him to the wolves, and he kind of crumbled under that pressure the first one. But man, he's certainly turned things around in his career. He's one of the best guys going in MMA right now, from what I'm seeing.
I think that comes with, like you said, the style though too. Is he's an a fast, strong, athletic guy. So that's his style. He can make it look good. I mean, everybody has different styles. You just gotta find the style that works for you and be the best at that style as you can be, And I'm a grinder. I'm an endurance fighter. I'm not a super explosive guy, so I use my endurance. I know the later the rounds go, the better I'm going to be. So, I mean, it's something that I really honed. I use my wrestling. I'm really good on top on the ground and pound. So, I accepted who I was, and I wasn't trying to be somebody I wasn't.
Well, that's pretty critical to find out where your strengths are and really focus on those areas. I always wanted to be the quicker, athletic guy. I wanted to be bigger too when I was young. What weights did you wrestle at in high school?
I wrestled at in my freshman year. I wrestled 135, and then I wrestled 145, and then I wrestled 140 in my junior year and 140 in my senior year.
Okay, so you went back down a weight class, and now you're still at 145.
Yeah, I'm still 145, so I haven't really grown much. I mean, put on some muscle, but I stay lean all year round,
You never hit that growth spurt. I started wrestling as a freshman. I was 98 pounds, and so being a smaller guy, I was kind of getting bullied too, and I was glad I discovered wrestling, so I could fight my way out of there and learn how to fight and battle. And but it's a great sport for young guys. So now you're down there in Sacramento at Alpha Male Gym. I know one of our Greco-Roman athletes moved out there, Chris Gonzalez. You get a chance to work out with Chris much? He's a little too big for you?
No, we work out all the time. He's one of my main training partners, actually. I help him out a lot. He helps me out a lot. He's really, I'm glad that he came out here, and he's gonna have a lot of success coming up here too. He works hard. He's got the right mentality, and I just see big things coming for him.
Yeah, and he's a super athletic, explosive guy.
Strong. I mean, for his body frame, he's freaking strong as hell. Like you said, he's explosive, and but the thing is more than anything, he has the right mentality / work ethic, which is, some guys just don't have that.
No, it's it's interesting to see the guys that think they're going to be able to whether it is turn it on in the ring, turn it on the mat, whatever that is, they think they can flip a switch instead of training that way. And you tell us a little more about, how you discovered that, that you have to train that way to fight that way.
I mean, it's always been a mentality since my wrestling days, man. Is no secret to success. You're gonna get what you put in there, and I knew that through hard work, I can do great things. And so the grind has always been something I embrace. Putting in those long days, doing things that most people won't do, and that just comes from my high school coach. He wouldn't give me no excuse. He'd pick me up in the morning practices. I'd go to every morning practice there was. I'd go to all the other practices, train year round. And it's one of those things now, it's like if I miss a practice, I don't feel right. Most people, they don't like going to every practice. But me, once I start, okay, I'm going to miss this practice. I got something to do. I'm like, oh, man, I feel bad about it, man. It's just, that's the way of my life now. And that's what the mentality you got to have is, for a championship life, this is something you got to do 24/7, no matter what. You got to have off seasons, time to let your body recover, but you got to stay on that grind year round. Otherwise, people are going to pass you up. There's going to be somebody that's going to work harder than you, and something that I'm always aware of. I'm always trying to improve on myself and stay in shape year round, stay on a diet year round, and it's not the easiest life to do, but I love it, man.
It's a very disciplined life. And I had this conversation yesterday with one of our athletes. He sent a message saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be late for a morning workout. My dentist appointment got moved back." So I guess at 7 a.m. they called him up and said, "Oh, hey, we want to push you back to 9." And he texts us and goes, "Oh, my appointment got moved back tonight." You know, and I my question to him was like, how easy would it have said to, "Hey, why don't you reschedule me next week for 7 because we train at 9 and that's my priority. That's my job. This is what I have to do." Don't accept that as, "Oh, okay, well, I guess I'll miss practice today." It really depends on what your priorities are, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you're right. You know, my mentality comes from, I told you I'm a union pipe fitter. And as a real job, if I come in late, guess what? Those days where there's a big winter storm, okay? Traffic's backed up. It's, you know, somebody comes in, let's say they're an hour late. Horrible traffic. They say, "Oh man, sorry, I had traffic." I've seen plenty of guys get laid off. You know what they said? "Why didn't you leave earlier? You know there's a big storm coming. What's the excuse?" There is no excuse. You know what I mean? We got to get this work done. So that's the mentality I took into the MMA too. I'm gonna come there not on time, not 5 minutes early. I'm gonna come there half an hour early because you never know what's gonna happen. At least a half an hour to an hour early. You can hit traffic. You can, you know, I mean, there's always something. There's always an excuse you can make. So I give myself plenty of time, and I give myself no excuses. This is the number one priority, because if I did that in my union job, I'd get laid off that day. You know, no excuses. They don't care.
So I can actually vouch for that, Matt. When I met Darren, we were standing out in the rain. I think it was New Year's Day or Christmas Day or something like that. And I rolled up to the gym, and you know, I was from out of town that day, so I wasn't real sure what time they were going. And I see this dude out there standing in the rain in the cold. And it was like New Year's Day, right? Everyone's hungover. No one's going out to work out at the gym. And there's this dude. And Darren, I don't think we met each other at that point.
Yeah.
And we just started talking because we were locked out of the gym. But we're like, we want to work out. Like, it's New Year's Day. Like, why would we not work out? Why would we not train? And, you know, we ended up talking, and we're waiting for somebody to unlock the door. And he's there half hour, 45 minutes before the gym's opening, you know, because he was preparing before traffic or whatever, because, I don't know, maybe there's traffic on New Year's Day or something. But, like, yeah, I mean, I think that's impressive. And, you know, you talked about having kids. You talked about, you know, having that maturity very young. And Matt and I talk about this sometimes on the show, Darren. But, like, you know, the role that kind of that maturity can play, we take sort of from life into the mat or how we train, and that responsibility. And I think that you're exemplifying that in that regard. But yeah, it's just really impressive.
So I mean, was that developed young with your family? Did you have two parents growing up? Did you did they instill this work ethic into you?
Yeah, my family's always been hard workers. You know, I'm a third generation pipe fitter, so like I said, that's a union thing. And yeah, my parents always, you know, they take me to practices no matter where I was at, take me to all the tournaments, and you know, work ethic's always been a big thing in my family, and you know, being on time, being early, no excuses has always been kind of like a model of the family. You know what I mean? Hard work. We're all hardworking people, and we expect big things out of all of us.
All right. So I got a few more questions on. So you trained down there at Alpha Male. I mean, you got some big names: Benavidez, Mendez, Cody Garbrandt. I mean, some big guys. You know, and some of you guys are at the same weights, aren't you?
Yeah, we got a lot of guys at 145. You know, Chad Mendez, Josh Emmett, me. We have quite a few people. Andre Feely, all in the same weight class, and we're all right there in the top 15 too.
So okay, so you mentioned in an interview I heard you talked about we all have the same goals, you know, but we find a way to help each other. We create this good energy in the environment, you know, because in the combat world, I mean, you have to surround yourselves with like-minded people that are chasing the same dreams. How does the dynamics and the personalities work around that when you got 3-4 guys all want to be world champions at the same weight class? I mean, is there days where you're like, oh, I don't want to train with this guy because he might learn my stuff, or, you know, do you ever hear that out of that gym, or Is that other gyms? I mean, where do you see this kind of mentality, and how do you combat it?
I don't see that at our gym, you know. I mean, me personally, I want to train. Look, I want to push myself to the limit, and these guys are going to be the ones that push me to the limit, you know. Hopefully, we never have to fight each other. You know, I mean, that's the plan, never fight each other. But for the championship, you never know what's going to happen, right? So I'm not saying that would never happen, but I mean, to get where I need to be at the championship level, those are the guys I need to train with every day. So I'm not afraid to just, you know, go out there, show them my moves, do things. I know their moves, they know my moves. We're the same. We have the same advantage, you know. So I don't think that brings the team down that we're all in the same weight classes. I think that raises the bar, you know. None of us want to give an inch. And I'm sure you know how it is. I mean, when you were fighting, you were the number one in the world. And then what's his name? What was one of your main training partners?
Well, I had Chael, I had Evan Tanner, I had Dan Henderson, I had Randy Couture.
UFC champion at the time, right? And you were the number one in the world at the time, right?
Yeah.
So you had to push each other too. Same weight class, same goal, but you still push each other, right?
For sure, but I hear this. Well, I don't want to show him my best stuff. I don't want, you know, to train with this guy because we may have to compete in April, or, you know, somebody's going to make the team. But for us, it's not about who's going to be on the team. Every year we're going to have 10 athletes on that team, except for the Olympic year. We're going to put 6 guys on an Olympic roster, you know, and they have to qualify the weight class. But it doesn't matter because that just makes you the best in our country. We want to be the best in the world. I think we got to push each other and continue to raise everybody's level.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you start putting limits on right away on your training partners, I mean, you're going to put limits on everything, how you progress. So you can't put limits on your training partners. You can't be afraid to go out there and do things and learn new things and fill out good new things. So that's the mentality we have, and I think that's how you need to. If you want to be the world champion, the Olympic champion, you can't be afraid to take risks.
Well, I mean, I would agree with that, Darren, but, you know, I just see, I mean, you guys are, you know, a big, well-known gym across, you know, in the world, you know, one of the top, you know, lightweight gyms in the world. Well, tell us your progression. How you went from college, you got your wife pregnant, you had a child, you started pipe fitting. How did you get into MMA originally? How did you find the outlet?
So, through a friend of mine who fought for a long time, Keith Winooski, he would always fought when we were younger, and he always wanted me to get into fighting. And I always help him out with wrestling during his fights and stuff like that, him and my brother. And once I got done and I said I wasn't going back to college, he got a hold of me. He's like, "Hey man, you want to get into fighting?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to get into fighting." You know, I watched it from the old days, man. Watching you, I watched a lot of your fights. I watched, you know, all UFC 1. I watched all the UFC. I've always been a big fan of the fighting, and it was always I was interested in it because wrestlers were always doing good in the sport. You know what I mean? Like, you see all these good wrestlers are having a lot of success. So it was something I wanted to try out. I like to compete, and I knew I was done wrestling for that point, but I needed competition in my life. I needed to compete. I wasn't done with that. So fighting was perfect. So I started training with Keith, and I loved it from day one and just started pushing myself and, you know, racked up a bunch of wins and got into UFC.
And then when did you make the move out to California? You left the Chicagoland area and moved out to California. What was that?
So it came to this. We talked about growth and getting better. I wasn't growing. I was at the same gym for a long time, about 7 years, the same gym. And a lot of my training partners were either retiring or not really training all the time. So I wanted different training partners. I needed to learn different stuff. So, you know, I thought at first I was going to maybe retire myself because I was like, man, I had a couple of bad fights. I wasn't progressing. I didn't think maybe I had it anymore. And then, you know, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try something different. And I got a hold of Chad Mendez, and I was like, hey, man, I want to come out and I want to try out the gym and you know, see how the gym is. And they gave me the okay. I trained out here for a 4-week camp the first time, and I loved it. And I was like, you know what, this is where I need to be the best. So moved out here about 3 years ago and been here ever since.
How long from when you went out there to train did you get your family moved out there? And this isn't just you moving. You had to move wife, 2 kids. You had to. I mean, there's a lot more sacrifices going on.
Yeah. So the first time we moved out here, we stayed out in a furnished apartment for about 8 months. We just left everything at home. Had somebody watch over my house, and we stayed out. We brought one vehicle, put everything we needed in that vehicle, and we drove out here. We stayed out here for 8 months, and then after the 8 months, we went back to Indiana. I had to finish to get through my apprenticeship. I had to do, and to get through my piper thing, I had to get vested for 10 years. So I had one more year to do it. So I did 900 hours in 92 days. So they called me and told me, listen, you gotta get this, you gotta get 9, because I thought I was vested. So they called me up like, hey, they said that first year of your apprenticeship doesn't count as a year to be vested. So you gotta either get it by the end of this year or you gotta get it next year. I'm like, no, I'm moving out to California. I'll get it this year, So I did 7 12s, 7 10s. The last couple of weeks I did 7 16s, and I busted it out in like 3 months, and then we packed our stuff up and we moved to California.
Were you able to train during those times?
A little bit, man, but for that time I trained. I try to train once a day, a little bit here, a little bit there. But I wasn't working like 16 hours or something like that. But I was training a little bit, keeping in shape, waking up, running and stuff. But I knew I had one goal, and that was to get all the hours, and it was tough. I went from steel mills to refineries to powerhouses. It was like, getting up every day, busting out all those hours, and it was a lot of work.
So now how many years are you removed from the pipe fitting trade?
This is going to be year 2, almost 2 years now.
Okay.
Because I always worked. So as a union guy, I worked, and I would work, and then I'd get a fight. I'd take 10 weeks off, train for a fight, and then I'd take a couple weeks and go back to work again and just keep doing that. You know what I mean? That way I kept my insurance, I kept vested, and now I can always go back as a piper when I'm done fighting. It's always an option of mine,
That's great. And obviously your wife's very supportive, and how important is that to have that support system around you, and how could a young guy develop that kind of support system?
So I've been with my wife since high school. Sophomore in high school is when we started dating. She's been with me through the wrestling years and everything like that. And she knows how I am, I told her, my goals. When we first started dating, she always tells the story. I told her from the beginning, listen, I want to date you, but I want to be a state champion. It's going to be a lot of sacrifice. I can't always be around you. I'm going to have to do things. And, she laughs about it now, but she's like, you were right. You did sacrifice a lot, and you had your goals in mind right away. So, I laid it all on the line from the beginning, even when I was a kid. Listen, I got goals. Those are going to come. Those are going to be in the way sometimes. You're going to want to hang out sometimes. I'm going to not be able to hang out because I'm working out or I'm traveling to compete or something like that. If you can handle that, then we're good to go. And obviously she has, and even more, And she comes from an athletic background too. She was a swimmer, and she did track, and now she does triathlons. So it helps when you have somebody that kind of enjoys the type of stuff too, and as a competitor, it makes it a lot easier too.
Right. I mean, and it's kind of nice when you come home and you got the kids that no matter how bad your day was, they love you, they support you no matter what.
Oh yeah, they do. It's funny. My kids are, they're funny, and they'll be like, "What's wrong with you?" I come home with a black eye, like, "Again, really, Dad?" Or something like that. So they're funny and they understand, and they've been gym rats since day one. Brought them to the gym, let them know that this is what it takes to get your dreams. It's not going to be just you're on TV and that's it. They've seen all the hard work and all the sacrifices. And I think that's part of the mentality, you know, you gotta know that there's a lot of hard work behind everything else, and I want my kids to be along with their journey. I take them to the fights, I take them to everything. They see the wins, they see the losses, and they know what it takes, you know.
They see both sides. They see the struggle, and they also see when you win, and you know, and a lot of guys, you know, they're out there, you know, and they don't necessarily want to just be a champion. They want all the things that they think comes with being a champion, the fame, the money, how good's the money? I mean, right now you're supporting your family by just fighting?
Yeah, I'm just supporting my family by just fighting. You know, I've been with the UFC for about almost 9 years now. And okay. I'm making win or lose about 6 figures a fight now, you know what I mean? So when I make quite a bit more than that, but at least 6 figures a fight now. So the money's there, you know. It's changed a lot since we first started out. So it's getting more and more money, and I can just do this full time now.
That's awesome, because I think my biggest paycheck in the UFC was $30,000. That was with the win and the show money, and you know, I was, you know, fortunately I was able to get some sponsors that were supporting me, you know, outside of that, but you know, and that's a lot of the reason why I left the UFC at that time. There was a lot of companies that were paying guys a lot more money, and you know, people would look at you like, "Well, you're not in the UFC." It's like, no, I'm not. I'm doing what I love to do, but I'm making a living also, and I wasn't able to do that in the UFC at that time. So it's nice to see that you're capable of doing that out there. And how's the program run? So Uriah put the schedule together, the training plans. Is he? I mean, I know he's the head coach, but you guys got a pretty big coaching staff too, right?
Yeah, I'll get into that once again. But yeah, I fought on Bodog back in the day when you fought in Bodog. I don't know, that's the first time I ever met you. I don't know if you remember me, but from there. But when I fought in Vancouver, do you remember the Vancouver show they had? I fought on one of those shows, and that's the first time I met you.
I didn't fight. I was up there cornering Chael.
Yeah, I knew you were cornering. I seen you. I knew you didn't fight, but. You fought once against Fedor in Bodog, right?
Yep.
I remember those days.
Yeah.
So our program is run. We have a bunch of coaches, which makes it nice. You know, we have Danny Castile. We have Chris Holdsworth that does the jiu-jitsu. We have Ryan Faber helped run a lot of practices now. Now we have Alex Munoz, who's part of the wrestling coaches.
Mark Munoz?
No, not Mark. Alex.
Okay.
You know, and then we have Lee Kemp's helping with the wrestling now.
Is he full time down there?
Yeah, he's full time down here. He's in what practices no matter what, but he's in every wrestling practice. He's learning the style stuff too, and he's a good guy to have actually in here, and he teaches a lot of good classes.
Yeah, and then that guy's in incredible shape for 63 years old.
I know. I'm jealous, man. He's in better shape than I am at my age. I think he looks great. He keeps up with himself.
Is he still move his body pretty well?
Yeah, he's still. I mean, he doesn't do any live, but he still moves great. He does drilling and stuff like that, and he still looks good. He's not like one of those guys that can barely walk or anything like some of those other guys. He moves around great. He's in great shape. He's physically strong still. He grabs a hold of your wrist. You're like, God damn, he still got it, So he's in great shape for his age.
That's great. Is he also one of the nutrition coaches? Because I know he's got a lot of background in that.
I don't know. I don't know if he helps out with some of that stuff. I don't think he does, but I mean, I don't know. I know he helps out with the gym stuff too. So we have him work a lot of like the gym management stuff too. Right, Faber does. So he helps with all the classes, for the wrestling classes, the morning classes. He does the development classes, like people are just getting into MMA, kind of getting better at certain things. He helps with those type of classes. So he has a pretty big role at the gym now.
Okay. Now, do you guys have like a daily workout regimen where all the guys come in on the same time and in practices at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever?
So how we do it is like every day we have tons of options for practices, okay? So let's say like a Monday. We have a morning practice, which is a pro practice, they call it. And we do like wrestling, MMA, jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, all that's combined in that practice. They show combos, they do wrestling, they do jiu-jitsu stuff. We do a little bit of live. So it's like a mixture of everything is the pro practice in the morning, okay? And then we have a boxing class in the afternoon at 2:30 if you want to hit that class up. And then we have jiu-jitsu at night too. So you got 3 classes on one day, you know what I mean? And then Tuesdays is like a wrestling day in the morning. And then you have Muay Thai in the afternoon. And then we spar on Wednesdays. And then Thursdays is a lot like Monday. We have wrestling. And then we have kickboxing. And then we have jiu-jitsu. So, I mean, it's all day long, man. How many practices? I mean, what do you want to work on? It's like the thing is, what do you want to work on? And you got padded work with your coaches. You got, gi jiu-jitsu all day long. You got, strength conditioning classes we have. So, I mean, you can really fill up your day with these classes. And what do you want to put into it? What are you going to get out of it type of thing. So that's like one of the best things I love about it, man. It's one of those things where no matter what class you go to, there's going to be a ton of people in there trying to get better.
And the pro practice, who gets invited to these? How do you
It's more, you got to have some MMA experience. MMA experience, So it's mostly the guys who are fighters, actually. It's a big class. There's guys that came to the gym just to fight and have fight experience. You can't be a new guy to the sport and come to their pro practice.
But there are maybe some amateurs in there with the pros. There
are some amateurs in there. Yeah, I mean, they got to know what they're doing. We're not going to put them in there and if they don't understand the moves. Like, the thing is, we tell about these classes is if you can keep up, you're invited, you know what I mean? But if you can't keep up with all the stuff that we're doing, maybe get in the other classes before coming to the pro practice.
All right, well, let's talk about that a little bit, because I think there's some guys that, they'll come into a gym or they'll come into a certain, high performance training environment, and they don't really understand where they sit, where they're at. We used to have pillars at the Olympic Training Center. On the other side of the pillars, there were certain guys that, they didn't get the mat space. They had to work on in between the wall and the pillars, which was about like a 4-foot wide area. And
nice.
There's guys that have a hard time with that because they want to be doing what the pros are, but they haven't put the time in to close that gap. What would the message be for somebody that's in that area? Have you ever been in that area? Have you ever been on the other side of the pillars?
I haven't been on the other side of the pillars, but I mean, the thing is this, man, is don't be afraid to put in the work. I mean, I tell people all this. You see the guys who fight, and all they do is fight. They don't put in the time and training and take off some time just to train, you know what I mean? And those guys just don't get better. The guys that fight all the time, it's hard to get better when all you're doing is fighting, And I feel like it's a lot like that. Put in your time. Work on your weaknesses. This is something that you have the time to do. Why not take advantage of it, Yes, you're going to have to swallow some of your pride, which is hard for people, Like you're talking about right now, they're on that pillar side. They see all these studs on the other side, but swallow your pride. I mean, all it takes is, you practice on that for, let's say, a year. You could be the guy on the other side, maybe the man on the other side. Don't be afraid to swallow your pride. And a lot of people are. A lot of people don't want to take a step back. But that step back sometimes gets you 3 steps forward. And that's a mentality I'm not afraid of. If I have to take a step back, fine, whatever, man. If it's going to get me to where I want to be, I'm not afraid to take that step back either.
Well, it sounds like you did when you went from Chicago to Uriah's gym, and then when you first got in that gym. I mean, were you a little shocked at where you were level wise, and share that with us?
Yeah, of course. I went there. We went over all this technique, and we did the southpaw stance. I hadn't really practiced a lot of southpaw stuff, so I was a little bit, I wasn't the man in the beginning. There was a lot of good guys in the gym, and I wasn't the man in the beginning. I knew I could be the man, but I wasn't the man, So I had to swallow my pride. I had to work on stuff and take my time, come early if I could, ask anybody I could, hey, can we work a little bit before practice? Show me a couple of these combos, or, show me how you did this, jiu-jitsu, can you show me this? And, I'm not afraid to pick somebody's mind and tell them, hey, I'm not very good at this, but I want to be, so can you show me this? Ask them to come a little early, come a little bit late. And through the work that I had, I covered a lot of ground quickly, and it was definitely a learning experience for me. I had a lot of areas that I thought I was pretty good at that I wasn't really as good as I wanted to be.
So there was a lot of humility in that early part.
Yes, there was a lot, especially with some of my stand-up stuff. I've always been known for my jiu-jitsu and my ground game and my wrestling, but the stand-up stuff and footwork stuff, I had a lot of ways to cover.
So that's really interesting, man. And maybe I can sort of speak from a different perspective. So I was kind of one of those guys on the pillars, and I would go to Uriah's gym, and we would train over there every now and then. And I was actually kind of what Darren was talking about. There's guys who were kind of scared to get in there. I was a little scared because I wasn't a pro and all that. And I tell you what, Matt, it was Eric Albarracin, who I went to the gym with, to Uriah's, back in 2011. And we were sitting there, and he watched me. He's like, you got your wrestling shoes on, you got your gear on. He's like, why aren't you in there training? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm new here, and I don't know. Maybe I'm not good enough for these guys. And he actually coached me to have the courage. He's like, no. He's like, look, you're a college wrestler. And he's like, blah, blah, blah. And he got me all built up in my head. He's like, you can go out there and do it. And, and then I just rolled in, and then you go to practice, like Darren was saying. And I think that's something that I've been so impressed with the program that you guys are building there, which is like the vibe, the welcoming attitude of like, look, if you got the goods to roll, come and roll. And, and that I think attitude is emblematic of that Team Alpha Male family, and that team is they're so welcoming. There's no real negative side of an ego where people are threatened or tell you not to come in or go to a different gym. But I always found you guys so welcoming to people who are willing to bring it and who are willing to have that courage to lose or the courage to try and to bring it though too. And I don't know that a lot of gyms have that, right? A lot of gyms are known for being kind of cocky or arrogant, but you guys are really, really good at that. And I think that's helped you to build that teamwork of everybody getting along, having a good vibe, and building more people coming, rather than that kind of silo of just a couple guys training and everyone else is kind of pushed out.
I feel like the atmosphere of, like we talk about is we leave the egos at the door type of thing, you know what I mean? You got to be in there and you got to have a chip on your shoulder. Don't get me wrong. You got to come out there and say, hey, I don't want to be the best. I'm going to be the best. You got to not give up anything. You're going to, you got to learn everything you can. But I don't feel like there's a bunch of cocky guys that are like, oh, what are you doing in here? Get out of here. Like, no, we're like, hey, we're do this instead. Even when I was first coming out. Hey, no, try this instead. Work on this. Do this little detail. They help with the details instead of like, hey, look at this guy. He can't do this. So most gyms, I've trained at a lot of different gyms, and that was one of the big things, the attitude, man. You can just tell that it was a fun atmosphere, and I'm one of those guys that, hey, I love what I do. I enjoy this. I don't want to be in an atmosphere that I'm not having fun. I do this for a living because I want to, not because I have to, because I want to. I like it. It's a like Matt was saying, it's a rough way to make a living, but if you have fun with it, it's a fun way to make a living. Get to train all the time and hang out with a bunch of your buddies and get better.
Well, you certainly have to love what you do, but how do you personally contribute to that environment? How do you? I mean, there's certain things that you can do to make that environment better, not just for you, but for everybody.
I come in there with something that I always felt like is even when I have a bad day, maybe everything's not going right at home. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep. Maybe I'm coming in with a positive attitude. I'm going to be the first one I'm mad. I'm smiling. I'm not just going to be I'm smiling. I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time, and I'm pushing hard. There's no time for this, I don't really feel good, or leave that out the door. Sure, I lead by example of I have a positive attitude, I'm ready to get better. Nothing else matters while I'm in there. When I leave, then you go back to regular life. When I'm in there, I'm focused on one thing, and that's getting better. And that's the mentality I have. That and just
how are you able to turn that switch off? I mean, like there's some guys. I mean, I understand that, but there's, life. There's, especially when you got a wife and a family, and you've got more responsibilities than even just yourself. But how do you switch that on and off and just get to training?
It's like I said, it's a mentality that you gotta have. I've always had. That's my one place of like, just forget everything else. Once I leave that place, I gotta get back to the regular world. I gotta get back to life and family, and maybe something about the finances or whatever. You got life always gonna be in the way, but when I'm in that moment, though, I'm gonna stay in the moment and try to and make sure that even though some days I don't want to smile, some days I don't want to get up. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of days where I wake up and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I going here? What am I doing? I could be sleeping right now, or I could be doing something else more fun than this, But I know
is there things that are more fun than going to the gym and fighting people?
Yeah, some days. Getting punched in the face sometimes sucks. I'm bleeding all over. Especially me, I'm bleeding all over the place half the time. But yeah, definitely, man. I would rather be at the beach.
Then what keeps you going? Is it the fact that you want to be a world champion? Is it what? Tell us how we can get our guys to have that mentality even when they're having a bad day.
I think it's the competitive edge in me, man. I want to be a champion, but for me, I want to be. I want to get better. I want to compete. I want to whoop somebody's ass. I want to put on these great performances, and it's keeping that goal in mind. I like writing in my journal my goals, what I'm doing today, I don't forget that what I'm doing this for and why I like doing this, and I think that keeps me going too, is knowing that, all right, this is what I'm doing today, this is what I'm doing tomorrow. Keep the same mentality. Some days are going to be harder than others, but you get through them and then keep pushing.
So do you think that, based on your trajectory of your story that you told us a little bit, coming from college and then going to pipe fitting and working and then transitioning to the gym, do you think that that's helped you in developing that attitude and that perspective and having that extra maturity? Do you see differences, or have you over time seen differences between you and maybe some other guys that maybe, so I see you having a lot more maturity than maybe some guys might have. You had a family in college, and I know Matt, had kids on his college wrestling team going to tournaments. It's very different than your normal, college guys going out and having a party or something. And do you see that translating to your success training that, of course, leads to success on the mat? And that, a lot of the Greco program is building guys that are taken from high school and kind of doing what you did, maybe do a little bit of college, but then, you know what, I'm going to change and find a new growth mindset. I want to grow into a new area of Greco as opposed to college. So I guess, do you see that experience sort of maturing in life, helping that attitude and understanding how to approach the training?
Yeah, I do. Having a kid young is one of those things that you learn to grow, you learn to mature fast, and it keeps you focused too. As a part of it is like, part of these guys, younger guys, are out chasing girls all night, doing all this partying and all that. Hey, man, I have kids. I'm taking care of my kids. I'm at home. I never did any of that stuff, which I'm happy with. That made me mature faster, made me get a job, made me, learn about life quickly. And I think going into the job atmosphere for a while too, that helped me mature faster too. Because look, I know what the real world's like. I make great money as a pipefitter. It's a good job to have, but it's not as fun as fighting for me. You know what I mean? Like it's a job. This is something that I get to enjoy, hang out with my buddies, punch my buddies in the face, and we get to have a good time doing it. And I always think about that. The grass isn't greener on the other side. I like what I do. This is more fun than having a real job. So that's what keeps me going with this and keeps me thinking, hey, You know, you get those guys always at that cross line, like man, maybe having a job and having real life would be better right now. And I've done that for a while. That's not better for me. This is better for me. This is what I like to do. Having my own schedule more, training year round, competing when I want to compete. It's something that I've learned from those experiences, though.
It's definitely different for guys like Rick was saying. They come straight out of high school and they've never worked a real job. They've never experienced that. I mean, you know, I moved after my eligibility was done. My wife wanted to move back to Oregon, and I became a plumber. You know, and then I got a call to come out to the Olympic Training Center, and I lined up a job on my way out here. I was driving from Oregon to Colorado, and I hit Wyoming, and on my cell phone I finally got a signal and checked my message. I called them back, and they were like, "Yeah, the funding for that position got canceled." You know, and I'm in Wyoming. I'm closer to Colorado than I was Oregon, so I just kept driving. Got here, checked into the training center, and moved our stuff into our home and started looking for a job, and became a Zamboni driver for the next 3.5 years. And
nice.
So I know it's not the best ideally for training, because I was working till 2-3 in the morning sometimes, and having to be back at the gym at 8:30, wasn't getting the recovery and the sleep I wanted to. And that's when I ended up eventually 3.5 years later changing my training environment, and was able to get a job where I was coaching wrestling while I was training. So that really helped, and it helped me mentor the next generation of champions. And how is that down at your gym where you've got some younger guys that you and Cody and Uriah are now mentoring some of these young athletes? How important is that to get that message across to these young guys early that, man, you could be pipe fitting, or you could be digging ditches to lay pipe to going into this new home or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, it is a thing that we talk about all the time. We have, at the end of the day, we have after every practice, we have like team meetings. We give speeches, about stuff like this, like we're talking about right now. Just a speech about coming in early, coming late, staying here, about all of our experiences, and we take guys with us. It's not one of those guys that you just beat up your training partners and you leave them behind. We're taking our training partners with us. We're taking those people to the next level. And any experience I can give them, I talk to them. About coming in. If they're coming in late, you gotta punish them. You gotta do something, burpees or something. But more important, you gotta tell them why it's a big deal. Listen, if you're 10 minutes late, most people don't think like this. If you're 10 minutes late, that's maybe 100 to 200 reps that you missed. Think about it. If you're doing a round, and you're doing the same move maybe over and over again, you maybe missed 200 reps. And yeah, that doesn't sound bad right now. 200, okay, it's not bad. But through a whole year, you're talking thousands and thousands of reps you missed out on. So pointing out stuff like that, changing their mindset to make sure that they know what we're talking about, to understanding is an important part of the process right now.
Sometimes it doesn't feel like those messages get through to these guys, though.
Well, people, come on, we're a bunch of stubborn asses, all of us, right? Especially for a wrestler, you're a stubborn ass, There's no doubt about that.
They think there's an easier way, there's a hack, there's a quick fix. It's putting the time in, putting the reps in, showing up early. You haven't found an easier way yet?
No, I wish, but no, that's not going to happen. It's all through hard work. I learned that day one. It's not going to be easy work. It's hard work, right? But it's different. And I'm sure you're seeing it. The generations have changed a lot. You don't see the work ethics like it used to be. It used to be, you work on a farm, or you do something all the time. Now they're on the computers, and you gotta change their mindset because of that. When I was growing up, it's like, hey, look, you're gonna do yard work, you're gonna do this, and I'm working fucking all day long when I'm not training. When I'm in the summer. So that's all You're like, okay, I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm taking out the garbage, and anymore, you don't see a lot of that. So the mindsets have changed a lot through the generations.
See, that's why I was curious about what you were saying going in from work, because it was like when I was in school, yeah, it was like I was mowing lawns, I was doing landscaping. I was literally, we would have a dump truck full of manure at the job, and it would be dumped. And then it was my job with a pitchfork to go in and literally shovel the shit. And all day you put it into 55-gallon buckets, then you carry the buckets around and you lay it out in these. Like I was shoveling shit. I was carrying rocks in the bucket, like full like industrial landscaping. And then doing security at night. So we were fighting at night, shoveling shit during the day, digging ditches, doing all that. And then it was like, then we get to go to practice. And it's like, so when I went to practice, it was like, you had that attitude of like, wow, this is a special treat. Not only like do I get to do this, but I was also on the clock. I'm like, this is time that I'm not making money, and the time I'm here, I need those 10 reps. I need those 10 minutes that they matter. I was like, dude, when I'm in there, you're in there with a purpose. And I coach or teach college kids the same age, the guys you guys are talking about. It's like if they don't have that attitude of a purpose to come into practice of like, I'm missing time. Not only am I missing time that I should be making money, but I'm also this is a time that I need to develop. I need to have that iron sharpening iron. And this is like, there's a purpose to this 2 hours. We got to go. I mean, this is go time. I mean, they don't have that oftentimes because they're on playing the computer or doing something. They're not raised to work. Where it's like,
that's one of the areas that our team identified last year was out of the 5 areas that we wanted to improve on. One of them was the sense of urgency, that sense of, and I hear that from both of you guys of, this window's short, right? I mean, you're 34 now. How much longer are you going to do this? And as long as you can.
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm going to take it fight by fight, but I mean, I don't want to fight over 38, I can tell you that. But, maybe I got a few more years left in me, I think. But I'm not one of those guys that are going to be like, hey, I'm going to fight all out. I take it fight by fight, man, how the body feels, the mentality, how my will is. A lot of that comes in the factor of it right now. I don't want to just put a time frame on it, like, okay, this many years, because you never know what's going to happen. Injuries happen, everything happens, but as of now, I think I still got a few years left in me.
But you never know when that injury is going to happen. You never know when your body's not going to be able to respond like it was, and so it's take that sense of urgency pretty seriously.
Yeah, I do. I mean, like, you're right, man. Just the mentality you gotta have is it could be over tomorrow. So what are you gonna do today to get better? You know what I mean? Because you never know. Like I said, you can blow out a knee. Something could change, and what you planned on achieving, you might never achieve, but you could have. So you gotta be. You gotta make sure you stay focused, and staying focused is the hard part of this. Hey, when you're on top of the world and you're like where I'm at right, let's say where I'm at right now, I'm making great money. It's easier to get up in the morning. Hey, I'm making good money. These days are easier. You know what I mean? I know what I'm fighting for. I see what I'm fighting for. I get all these nice things. It's the days where you have nothing and you gotta get up. Those are the hard things. Okay, I'm hoping I get something nice. I'm hoping I get those big paydays. I'm hoping, all you're doing is hoping and training. And those are the days that are hard to get up. Those are the days that make it hard to get through the sport. People see they're champions, they live these good lives, but they don't see the process of getting to be a champion, to getting those big paydays. They're going through their sacrifices, not spending time with your family or whatever it is. I mean, that's the hard part, man. When you're making, $200 to $300 a fight in the beginning. I mean, I made a couple of those. My first couple of fights, $300. I mean, that was probably my first 5 fights. Okay, here you go, $300 to get punched in the face. It was something I like to do, but that's not going to make a living, not by any means.
So it's about paying the dues. Well, Darren, I thank you for your time and sharing the message. Rick, you got anything else to add before we let Darren go today?
Well, I was just going to ask him. I got to ask him because he's such an inspiration to so many people. Everybody knows some of your most famous fights, Darren. I mean, you're just a straight-up warrior, straight-up beast. And, not everybody sees you train. And, we've got to talk, a couple times every time we kind of connect training. And I know not everyone sees all these early mornings you have. And, the stuff that nobody sees. You're doing everything to prepare for these epic wars that you're like famous for coming back. And I gotta ask, like, we talk a lot on the show about like drawing from life experiences to kind of apply to, say, some of these guys or kids wrestling, but you're really interesting for me because so many people draw inspiration for life from your fights, from your battles. What's going through your mind when you're in these like famous epic battles? You've won a fight of the night and all these other things. You came back and these like, Joe Rogan was crying on his show, right? He was saying how inspired he was by you. Where's that? What's going in your mind, resilience-wise, in the moment when you're doing those things? What is the heart? What's your heart when you're drawing on that heart? What's going on?
I mean, a couple things. One is, I lived in the hellfire all my life. I've always been the underdog, so I'm always out there to prove myself. There's always been those moments, that mentality in my head. And in the fights, man, I know it takes one mistake. My cardio is I'm picking up cardio. Hey, man, when I'm in round 3, I'm just getting the gear. The longer the fight goes, the better it is for me. So I don't get sidetracked. Okay, I didn't win this round, the first round. You know how many fights I've lost the first round? But I go back in the corner, no big deal. I got 2 rounds left. Going in the Bektić fight, I felt like he was breaking. I could see it in his face. He was starting to break. So I'm like, hey, I got 1 round to do this. Let's do this. If I have a clear mind, I can stay focused. Mentally, I know that all it takes is 1 mistake. And my cardio, same as I was wrestling, my cardio is going to be there. I can push harder than most of those guys can think about. I train to push myself to those limits. When I'm breathing hard and I can't breathe, those are the times that I'm fighting my best. So I want them to be exhausted, because if we're both exhausted, let's see who's tougher. Let's see who's tougher then. And that's usually going to be me, because I'm going to find a way and I'm not going to give up. You're going to have to freaking stop the fight or knock me out. Otherwise, I'm coming. And most people can't take that pace. So, that's just the mentality I've had in wrestling, mentality I've had in fighting. It's a mentality I have in life, man. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep coming, man. I can achieve anything if I push hard enough and I train hard enough.
Hell yeah, man. You're an inspiration.
Thanks. Hell yeah.
Well, we're going to continue watching you and hope to continue to see you rise in your career and, reach all your goals and dreams.
All right. Thanks, guys. It's been fun.
Thank you, Darren.
Thanks.
I appreciate you, buddy.
No problem.
That was awesome.